Spider-Man No Way Home stars Tom Holland and a bunch of other actors. And in this movie, we pick up right after Far From Home, where Peter's identity is revealed to the entire world and he must deal with the consequences. We made it. We have made it. I watched this movie and I still can't believe we actually got it. Like, I can't believe it, guys. You have to understand, ever since I've had memories, I've been a Spider-Man fan. He has been such a huge part of my life. Comics, TV shows, movies, Funkos, statues, hoodies, socks, anything collectible-wise. I have. He's been such a big part of my life. And to have a movie like this is just a Spider-Man's fan's dream come true. And it was just such an emotional roller coaster of just emotions and nostalgia. It was truly everything I wanted and even more. Now, quickly, I'm going to say, no spoilers for me. This is going to be a spoiler-free review, but I am going to talk about spoilers after I do my review. So this is going to be a long video. So the first half is going to be my review, and the second half is going to be talking about spoilers. And I'll put a time up here of when I start talking about spoilers, so that way you don't have to worry about that. But okay, there's so much to unpack. There's a lot to talk about. Again, no spoilers right now. I'm going to talk about spoilers later in the video, but let's talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. The biggest positive of this movie is Tom Holland's performance. Wow, this is up there. I definitely think this is the best Spider-Man performance. I really do. This is Tom Holland's best performance by far. It is such a great Peter Parker movie. And that's what makes this movie so special. The best Spider-Man movies are where Peter is the central character, where there's Spider-Man in between. And that's what's so important. When Peter's identity is revealed to the entire world, you get to see how Peter Parker deals with this. Because understand something, Peter up to this point hasn't really dealt with something like this, because he's had Tony Stark's help, or Happy's help, or Aunt May's help, or MJ's. So this is truly where he's in an isolated situation. And it's going to be interesting. You know, it was interesting to see where this movie was going to happen. And Tom Holland delivers the best performance in the MCU by far. I loved every second of him. Man, he truly embodied what Spider-Man and Peter Parker is all about. And I think this movie might have eclipsed him. It's still a discussion. We'll see. But this definitely puts him up there for best Spider-Man ever. And yeah, it's going to be a tough decision to make on who is the best Spider-Man. But this one definitely might have put him over the edge. I also love the tone of this movie. Now, one thing I will say is that MCU movies tend to have a formula. They do. And they can become very predictable. This movie is not predictable by any means, and that's what makes this movie so good. It's so unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. Even though there's certain events that are happening, you just are on edge because you feel like it's going to go full 180, just go crazy, and everything's going to, you know, go insane. That's what's so good, is that you're always on the edge of your seat. You're always tense. You always feel like there's something going on, you know, in the back of people's heads when they're doing certain actions. I love the tone of this movie. It's very bold. This is a very bold movie, and they definitely took risk, and I loved it. I loved all the risks they took. There's certain events that happen that are going to change, you know, how the Marvel Cinematic Universe is and how Peter is, but they nailed every single part of it. So the tone is very good, and it definitely worked for this movie. While Tom Holland gave the best performance, very close, like a run for his money, is Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. Holy moly. Welcome back, sir. Let me just say this. He is way more sinister in this movie. I thought in the 2002 when he was brutal, no. He is way more creepier in this movie. He is truly Green Goblin. Like, he is Green Goblin personified. I can't believe how vicious, how angry, how crazy he was. And it was amazing. Willem Dafoe is such an incredible actor. He's so good. The way he channels a character and makes it his own is everything I wanted. He honored Green Goblin from the comics while also doing his own thing. Willem Dafoe, I bow to you, sir. That was a fantastic Green Goblin performance. He was so good. I can't believe that we got him back. Like, I still can't believe that we got all these actors back. You know, you got to see Alfred Molina back as Dr. Octopus, but Willem Dafoe definitely was the standout for all the villains. And the other villains are very well done. That's another thing why I love this movie, is that the other villains that were kind of not written well in their own movies were written so much better in this. Like, obviously, let me talk about Alfred Molina. Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus. Good to see you again, sir. He was so good in this movie. I loved how he just takes such command. He has such presence in this movie, and that's what's so good about Dr. Octopus. Alfred Molina looks so much like Doc Ock, and I loved him. Such a great character. He has his own flavor. Really well done. I was so happy that Jamie Foxx got his redemption as Electro. Electro is so cool in this movie. He has so much swagger. He has a cool factor. His delivery of his lines that they gave, it's just like, why couldn't we get this one in Amazing Spider-Man 2? I just get so disappointed when I see Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's just going to make me hate Amazing Spider-Man 2 even more because we got this Electro. And I'm just like, why couldn't we get this one in that movie? You know what I mean? Again, look, Jamie Foxx is awesome. The suit was cool. He was cool. Electro was awesome. For being a 2-hour and 30-minute movie, this movie moves quickly. I love the pacing in this. It was just like boom, 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 boom. You're hitting everything. But even though you're going on this wild ride, and it's 2 hours and 30, a near 3-hour movie, it doesn't feel like it at all. It felt like an hour 30 movie. I just couldn't believe how quickly we were going with certain events, but it worked. A movie like this, with the plot it has, I feel like it has to be quick pace. It has to be, because there's a sense of urgency in every scene, and that's why it works. Spider-Man works with a sense of urgency in this movie, and he's like, I need to get this done, I need to get this done, and it works, and it takes you along with it, and it's easy to follow. It's an easy to follow plot, and it's very well done. I love the pacing. The action sequences are gorgeous, and this is where you like to appreciate today's technology. Yes, practical effects are awesome. I do appreciate those. I always will. But man, you just cannot take for granted the amount of CGI and technology, how far we have come. You look at like the original Spider-Man that came out in 2002. Look how far we've come that we get to have action sequences like we did in No Way Home. Incredible. So well done. It's very different from the other MCU movies. It has its own flavor and it does its own thing. And say what you want about the MCU movies, they know how to do Spider-Man action sequences. They really do. And they get the web swinging down very well. They get the action sequences on how Spider-Man fights. I loved it. I love the action sequences. The humor is also great. MCU humor is always good. They always get it. Yeah, there are a couple scenes where it's like, man, I feel like the humor wasn't really necessary in the scene. But this is one of the funniest MCU movies in my opinion. Like, the theater I was in, we were laughing so hard at certain jokes that were thrown. It was awesome. Doctor Strange is hilarious in this movie. Peter, MJ, Ned, they're also really, really funny. The villains are funny. It's just everybody has their own, like, unique personality. And it's just this perfect mesh that comes together, and it makes a very enjoyable film. Now, if I had to nitpick, if I had to be negative about something, because again, I don't hate this movie. I don't, by any means do I not hate this movie. If I had to, out of all the villains, I feel like Sandman was done a little differently. It just kind of made no sense because he's a certain way in Spider-Man 3. Like, the way Spider-Man 3 ends and where he picks up here, it just kind of made no sense how he acted in this movie. It seemed like a weird continuity error that kind of made no sense to me. So if I really had to nitpick, I would say Sandman could have been done a little bit better. His action sequences were great. I love the actor that plays Sandman. I'm glad they got him back. But I just feel like the way they wrote his character and how he acted, in terms of like how they wrote him, I feel like that could have been done a little bit better. Overall, guys, if I had to give a grade, and I will, I'm giving this an A+. Yes, this is not a perfect movie, but let me just say this right now. If you're not entertained by this movie, if you feel like you need to just go out of your way to say, this sucks, and what about that, there's no pleasing you. You know what makes me so mad? Like, I go on Twitter, because now I don't have to worry about spoilers, and I see people saying like, well, what's gonna happen here? What's gonna happen here? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, do you not just realize what you witnessed? Like, if you told, like, 5-year-old me that, this movie happened, I would say you're crazy. I truly would, because every person who is a Spider-Man fan wanted a movie like this. And the fact that we got this movie and people are still just trying their hardest to just pick it apart and say, this nah, that is nah, it just makes me so angry. Like, how could you not appreciate what you just saw? I am so filled with emotion that we got this movie. So I'm just tired of people trying so hard to hate something that should not be hated. So please just enjoy this movie. Yeah, it's not perfect. No movie is perfect. This movie deserves an A+. The nostalgia, the experience, the characters, the writing, everything is so well done. It deserves this A+. I 100% agree with my grading. It's not going to change. So this movie was everything I wanted and more, not just as a Spider-Man fan, as a superhero fan. You know, this is what you want to see from a superhero movie, and then some. So I really appreciate Marvel Studios for making this kind of movie. So that's why Spider-Man No Way Home gets an A+. That's my review. So now I'm going to get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen this movie, go away now. Go away. Because I don't want to ruin it for you. But if you've seen this movie, let's talk about spoilers, okay? I'm talking about it. Ready? Here we go. Tobey and Andrew are back. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are back. Oh my god, I can't believe it. They're back. Oh my god. I have chills right now. When I saw them, I was blown away. Like, it happened. We got Spider-Verse. You know, the closest we ever got to this as a kid was from the 90s animated Spider-Man series when all those Spider-Men came together. Of course, Into the Spider-Verse happened. But I don't know, this is just another level of nostalgia and just memories. And it was everything I wanted from these three actors and more, and I was so happy that they were able to do this. I want to talk about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man first, because he was the most interesting of the three. He seemed so broken. He seemed like a broken Spider-Man. He very much reminded me of Peter B. Parker from Into the Spider-Verse. You know, just somebody who's just so done. Not just with being Spider-Man, but also with just life. You could just tell that he has the weight of the shoulders. He has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and that's so, like, I just felt so, like, he needed a hug. I feel like I need to give him the biggest hug, because I could just tell it was like he was like one more thing away from just being broken. And, you know, he talked about it. He talked about how when Gwen dies, he was so vengeful, and he started not pulling his punches anymore. And I was like, whoa, where is this side of Spider-Man? I really hope they give him one more movie, because I want this explored desperately. So Andrew was so well done. And here's the thing. Before this movie happened, he was the funniest out of the three Spider-Man, without a doubt, like not even close. And this movie confirmed that. He is so funny in this movie. When they're interacting, he by far has the best lines, and he's hilarious. And I love that they maintained that he's the most humorous of the three Spider-Men. So Andrew, so good to see you, buddy. I really hope you get another film to redeem yourself, because Amazing Spider-Man 2 sucked, man. But you deserve another film. Now to Tobey Maguire. Man, we got him back. We got another Tobey Maguire. We got another Tobey Maguire appearance as Spider-Man. That's everything I wanted. I'm so happy to see him. Like, I just am so at peace that he got another appearance. And I loved it. What I loved so much is that he's an aged Peter Parker. He clearly is older. Like, when he was stretching, he's like, oh yeah, I got like a back problem. I was like, oh man, he's older now. I love it. He truly is Peter Parker. Say what you want about his Spider-Man. I've been critical of his Spider-Man, you know, not being, you know, he doesn't have the one-liner enough, like kind of like comic book Spider-Man. He is truly Peter Parker. Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker is the Peter Parker out of the three. And it's so well done in this movie, because when Aunt May dies, yes, Aunt May dies, it's very emotional. That is Tom Holland's Peter Parker's Uncle Ben moment. When they all start talking about their biggest losses, and the way Tobey talks, and I love the way Tobey's the one that brings him over to, like, with great power comes great responsibility. Especially when Peter desperately wants to kill Green Goblin, because Goblin's the one that kills Aunt May. When he's at that scene, and he's about to kill Willem Dafoe, and Tobey comes in and stops him, I was like, he's Peter Parker. That is Peter Parker personified. No matter how difficult it gets, no matter how hard it is, he always does the right thing. Even though it's the hardest thing to do, he does the right thing. That is Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. And they just did him so well. And it was just so good to see the Sam Raimi universe come back in full power in this movie. And what's so interesting is that I'm fully convinced now that there is no Uncle Ben in this universe. Because with May dying, you don't really see a gravestone next to Uncle Ben or anything like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like Uncle Ben doesn't exist. So it's interesting that this is Peter's true Uncle Ben moment, because you have to understand, In my opinion, and what people have been critical of in Tom Holland Spider-Man movies is that it just seems like he hasn't had a Peter Parker moment. You know what I mean? Like, he's had the Stark suits. He's had Happy, help him. He's had Ned help him. MJ's been helping him. Aunt May found out about his secret identity and helped supported his superhero ways. Then he has the Avengers to team up with. It just seems like he hasn't really had like that tough of a life. Yeah, Tony Stark dying was awful, but once his identity was revealed, then Aunt May dies. Then at the end, which I'm going to talk about, he makes that big sacrifice. It's like finally he does a Peter Parker thing where it's like he makes the ultimate sacrifice where everybody wins except him. And that's what that's all about. And that's why in this movie, I feel like this may finally put Tom over as the best Spider-Man Peter Parker. I still need to sit on it for a couple of days. I'm going to see this movie again on Sunday, in like 2 days. So, but for now, I think Tom might have eclipsed Tobey as the best Spider-Man of all time. My favorite part of this movie, by far, is when all three Peter Parkers are interacting. It is exactly how I imagined how Peter Parker would talk if he saw himself, It's exactly how I thought, and I loved it. They were so funny, like how they were asking, like, wait, you don't have web shooters? That's awesome, bro. And the way they were hugging. Oh my god, oh my god, it's everything I've wanted. Did I mention it's everything I wanted? Yeah, it's everything I wanted and more. I want a movie. I want another movie where they're together. Like, I want an entire movie of them just like, not even no Spider-Man stuff, just them talking about life and being Spider-Man. I just want that so desperately. Come on, MCU. Give it to me, please. And another thing, we got Charlie Cox back as Daredevil. Yes! For those of you who watched Hawkeye, you need to watch Hawkeye. I'm talking about Hawkeye right now. Kingpin was officially revealed in episode 5, I believe, of Hawkeye. And now we got Charlie Cox back as Daredevil. Yes! Yes! I can't wait. He was so good in this movie. The crowd was so shocked, taken aback when they saw Charlie Cox back. I loved it. I can't wait to see him back as Daredevil and interact with these Marvel superheroes. It's going to be awesome. Now let's talk about the ending. So at the end, Peter tells Doctor Strange, do the spell where everybody will forget who I am. Otherwise, the whole universe is going to crash. And he makes that sacrifice. So now, at the end of this movie, you see that he has no Aunt May, no Happy, MJ forgot about him, Ned forgot about him. He's now out of high school, and he lives in an apartment with no money and no job. Tom Holland finally gets to be Spider-Man. That's why I'm so excited for this next trilogy that's going to come out, the whole college movies. There is so much to explore. He is finally going to be the true Peter Parker, like in, the Sam Raimi universes, from the animated shows, from the comic books. He's going to be truly by himself, with just his own resources. And I'm so excited to see where they take that, because there's so many possibilities, but I'm just going to enjoy this movie because Tom Holland was fantastic. Also, can we talk about that final suit at the end of the movie? Yeah, that looked gorgeous. It looked so comic accurate. That's going to be the first comic accurate suit we've ever gotten in a live action movie. It looked great. I'm going to need a close-up, so I'm going to need the next Spider-Man movie stat. But no, the suit was actually, all the suits were awesome. I love the inside out black and gold suit. Super cool. Every suit was awesome. Now let's talk about the post-credit scenes. So the first post-credit scene, which is a mid-credit, so there's a mid-credit and a post-credit. The mid-credit scene, Tom Hardy's Venom. He was so confused that there's superheroes all around the world, and I love that. But what happens is, the spell's broken, so now he gets shipped back to his universe, which is interesting. I feel like that post-credit scene was all for nothing. But when he gets shipped back, a little bit of the symbiote was left on the table, which means, dude, we got the symbiote in the MCU, baby. I'm so excited. Oh my god, I can't wait to see what they do. Man, there's just so many endless possibilities that they could take. Just that little symbiote being left had me so hyped. Genius there by Disney and Marvel, so well done. And now let's talk about the post-credit scene. It wasn't really a scene. It was a whole teaser for Multiverse of Madness. Yes, this is the first teaser for Multiverse of Madness. Wanda looks incredible. This is the first time we've seen her since Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah. Awesome. Sorry, first time we've seen her since WandaVision, excuse me. So many Marvel shows at this point. She looks awesome. Doctor Strange looks cool. I'm so interested to see what they do. I can't wait for Multiverse of Madness. Can't wait. And there we have it, guys. Spider-Man No Way Home. We did it. I gave this movie an A+ because it deserves it. This was everything I wanted. Everything. It's like I can be at peace now because everybody that I watched movie-wise in all these Spider-Man universes was done so well. Lizard was done well. Sandman was cool. Dr. Octopus was awesome. Green Goblin was a savage. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man looked incredible. Tobey was so good. Tom Holland was spectacular, pun intended. Everybody was done well. What a movie. What an experience. This is going to go down in the history books. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.